I can't hear him.
Good evening. We are live. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my co-host, Miss G, Miss Georgette Truin. Miss G, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. And I see we have a special guest on. We have Miss Lori Burns. Miss Burns, how are you doing?
I'm about ready to kick a hornet's nest, but I'm doing okay.
That could be dangerous conduct, kicking a hornet's nest.
Yes, sir. Especially with no bee suit.
So where are you coming to us from?
I am in Crockett. Excuse me. I'm in Texas.
Okay. What part of Texas?
Southeast. I'm just north of Houston.
Okay, very good. So what's going on with you and CPS in Houston, Texas?
Well, we are having some major problems. Um, I've got this great big black mark on my name, and I don't know, other than the social worker that we have now is the one that put it on me. I'm not allowed to be and I'm not allowed to be around anybody under the age of 18.
I don't
Um,
understand. Were you convicted of a crime or something?
no.
Well, how do you get a black mark on your name to not be around anybody under 18?
Um, the central registry list. See, back in 92, I had a case with the same son that his case is going through. Um, and they were trying to return him home and everything was going good. I had to move away because my dad was dying with cancer. And they never put a black mark on me there. They never said I was dangerous. And then I had another case in 93, which was unfounded, no black mark. In 99, unfounded, no black mark. And I did what they did. It was in 2016 or 17, I had a little boy that was staying with me, and they did like I was like a courtesy household because I knew the family, and he'd already been with me for a month. So they left him here while their CPS case uh, evened out, and he could go back home. And then still no
Well,
black mark. And
when
then in 2021 in October, there was a sexual assault on my son with his stepdaughter, and he was totally acquitted. They shut the case. They didn't even no trial, no nothing, and she did it back again 18 months to the day later, and now I have a big black mark, and he's got the same charges. They've done the same test, and it came back all negative. No DNA, no stretch hymen, no nothing. And I've had problems with this CPS lady, and now she's put a great big black mark on me. And I know when it happened uh, because I had told we were in where they go through the case plan where you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do that. And I was telling them that I thought that maybe the daughter was sexually molesting the two little boys and another little boy. And they told me that that was a learned behavior. I said, yes, but a jailable behavior. And they told me she's too young. Well, Texas state law states that a 10-year-old can be jailed for anything from a Class C misdemeanor all the way to capital murder. And they told me I didn't know what I was talking about, but I just looked that law up. And with that, they put I'm a danger to anybody under the age of 18. I have no contact with my grandkids, of course. In Texas, you're a big piece of poop being a grandparent. But they took these kids out of my home. And they had been here since September 9th of 2021. But yet, I got nothing to say about it.
So you're a grandmother trying to get children who are in foster care into your home?
Yes.
And
Get them back with their mother because their mother lives with me. Their
Okay, so
father is in jail on a $250,000 bond.
are you the parent of the mother or the father?
I am the father.
Okay. Now, I wasn't clear. Why do you have a black mark against you?
Because I was trying to tell them that I thought that the 11-year-old daughter was a danger for doing sexual assault things to her two little brothers and her first foster home, 3-year-old in that home.
Okay, but how would that get you a black mark?
Because I told him it was a jailable offense. I mean, they've got my son in there. And it wasn't that I'm trying to be retaliatory or vengeful or anything like that. I'm wanting to save the little kids. I've always loved kids. I've never hurt a kid. I've never bruised a kid. I've never tormented a kid. Nothing.
Okay, but have you seen an actual letter that says that you're banned from being around children younger than 18?
No, I have not. How would I go about getting, I know it's different states, but how would I go about getting my record off to look at on the central registry list?
Well, in California, they call it the Central Child Abuse Index. You can just write the California Department of Justice. I would guess that you would do the same thing in Texas. You know, you could
Okay.
probably call around or Google it, to figure out how to do that. And once you figure
Right.
out how to do that, you probably will have a constitutional right to challenge being on the list. Did you receive any notice that you were being put on the list?
No, I did not.
Okay, that's interesting because that was one of the issues in California, and someone brought a big lawsuit and they won. And I always suspected other states were doing the same thing as California, not giving notice, and apparently they're doing that in Texas. So what I would do is I would, contact a lawyer in Texas to try to bring a civil rights lawsuit because the way they interpret the Constitution in California is that you can't put somebody on a list without giving them on a governmental list, without giving them some type of notice and opportunity to be heard and come forward, to fight being put on that list.
The way I found out about it was my son called me from jail and he was crying. I mean, that poor baby was bawling his eyeballs out. And he said, Mama, you're on some list. You can't be around kids anymore. And I asked him why. And he said, because you threatened to kill me. I said, I never threatened to kill you. I never threatened to kill anybody.
Well, is there, Miss G, what's our name of our attorney in Texas?
Matthew Harris.
Okay. Have you heard that name before, Lori?
No, I have not.
He's
Do you
in
know
Lubbock, Texas.
He's in Lubbock. How far are you from Lubbock?
Oh, I'm hundreds and hundreds of, I'm like a day's drive.
Oh,
I'm talking
really?
a long day. Yeah, Texas is big.
I know I drove across Texas one time going from New Orleans to LA, and I thought I'd never get across Texas.
Exactly. Around the corner to us is 125 miles.
Well, why don't you Google Matthew Harris's name in Lubbock, Texas, and give him a call and see if he can give you any advice or if he can refer you to someone closer to you in the Houston area. Matthew Harris. Good guy, good attorney, and he fights CPS.
And he's in Lubbock?
Yes.
Lubbock, Texas, correct.
I was just looking through my computer Rolodex. I met another attorney that fights CPS in El Paso, Texas. Are you
Oh,
close to
that's
there?
even farther than
Oh,
Lubbock.
okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm
Give,
down
give,
around Houston.
give Matthew a call.
What about attorney Matthew Caris? Kairis. He's in Texas. His name is attorney Matthew Caris.
That name doesn't ring a bell with me, but that doesn't mean anything.
Actually, you know what? It's so weird. I was contacted by a message that he sent today, but then Grace said, "Let's see if he's legit." So I googled him, and he popped up. And he defends people against CPS in Texas.
Did you get to talk to him?
I sent him a message on Messenger. That's pretty much what I did, but I haven't heard from him yet.
Hey, Grace, our producer, Grace, I'd like you to contact this person and see if he'll come on the show and be interviewed, and we can vet him and see if he's, a good CPS attorney for people to contact there in Texas.
Hmm. I sent you an email about it too, Vincent, by the way.
When, today?
Hmm.
Okay. I haven't gone through all my emails for today. So
You mean 2,000 emails? Yeah, I'm sure.
okay.
But Lori, when I spoke to you, you said that your 11-year-old, the 11-year-old stepdaughter to your son, she was fist
Yes.
fighting with the 4-year-old, and
Fist fighting with the 4-year-old. Yes, ma'am.
fist fighting with the 4-year-old, and the father decided, hey, you shouldn't do that to your brother. He's only 4. So he put her in the room, and he separated the two, and said, now think about what you're doing, because that wasn't cool what you did. Correct? So
Correct.
then to retaliate against him, she went to the grandfather, her husband, and she told
Mm-hmm.
him one story, which is he touched her.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? And then she went to you and told you a couple of stories that completely contradicts what she told her grandfather.
Exactly.
Right? And then after that, you told your daughter, you said it doesn't matter if it happened to her or not, she should go to the hospital and get her checked to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Correct? So
Exactly.
basically CPS is blaming her for something she gave her daughter the right advice to do. Check your daughter, check the child, make sure she's, telling the truth, or basically it didn't matter to the grandmother. We need to make
Right.
sure that she's
Right.
okay. So um, she was examined by a forensic
Mm-hmm.
person, and the
Yes.
forensic made a report unfounded, meaning
There was no DNA. There was no hairs. There was nothing. Hello. Uh-oh.
No, we're still here.
Okay.
Are you still
But
there?
yeah,
Miss
there's
Miss
just,
G, Miss G seemed to freeze up. I'm
but
still here.
there was nothing. They couldn't find nothing. No DNA, no saliva, no hairs, no nothing. And it's just, how can they just take word of mouth if there's no evidence?
Well, I'm sure that they had some type of evidence, whether it was you know, persuasive in the terms of, or in our minds, is a whole nother story. Were you part of a court hearing that found you to be some type of risk to children, or did they just do
No,
that without you?
no. Like I said, the first time I heard about it was when my son said it.
And have you gone to talk to an attorney about how to be removed from that list?
I am trying to get a hold of my son's attorney. He's trying to help me and him, and he hasn't called me back yet. But I did put in a call. He's been out of town.
Okay. So
So
you just recently found out.
yes, it was like 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
Does your I was out for a brief second, but did your son have? Did you hire him? Did he hire an attorney, a criminal attorney?
My daughter-in-law went down to the courthouse before any court dates, and she applied for 2 attorneys, one for him, one for her. And they've got separate attorneys on this case. Now, the one for my son, he is doing the dependency and his criminal, because they're kind of intertwined. But he does do the CPS cases also.
So you're talking about a court-appointed attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it.
And she too has one, but I don't think he's doing anything. But at least he's not over playing patty cake, looking at the paperwork and looking at me, at them, and laughing like they were doing with me with my son in CPS.
Wow.
And they had him 13.5 years. He aged out. And I was at his final court date.
So what questions do you have for Attorney Davis tonight?
Come on, girl. Missy.
Just, I mean, it's just, I'm so confused. They lost so much. And I know I can't stop them from lying, but at least I can get our story out. And there's like hundreds of people here in Texas that have the same story. And I just want to talk. I want to be there for my kids, my grandsons, and I want my family put back together, because they took it and exploded it with an atom bomb. There's only 5 of my genetics left alive.
Wow.
How old are the children?
The stepdaughter is 11. The first boy is 4. And the baby is 7 months old. Now, the baby was born into my house. She got pregnant with him while she lived here with my son. I know that one's mine.
Why did they take the children away from the mother?
Because they said she couldn't keep them safe.
I failed to protect. That's why.
Yeah.
Failed to protect from what? From what?
From the father.
From the father, but the father was locked up. They got no business keeping them boys now.
So in California, if the allegation is failed to protect and the guy's in jail with very little chance of getting out, in my humble opinion, that's not a basis to keep the children away from you. Does she have a lawyer that's helping her?
He ain't the best in the world.
She has a court-appointed attorney.
She has your normal court-appointed attorney. My son has, I think, an awesome attorney.
Your son has a criminal attorney, or you're talking about an awesome attorney for the criminal part, or the side, or the juvenile side?
I haven't seen the criminal side yet. They just indicted him last week. And but what I've seen with the CPS case. He's a pretty good attorney. Sean was lucky to get him because he don't like CPS at all.
Well, you know.
What's
Yeah.
he in jail for?
Aggravated sexual assault on a child and indecency with a child. He's on a $250,000 bond.
Is it the mother's opinion that it happened or didn't happen?
Didn't happen.
What evidence are they using to try to convict him?
Her words, which I
How
think was it.
how old is he?
She's 11, and she had sex education in either February or March of this year, and all this happened in April.
Do you think that it happened or didn't happen?
The way my kid, no, it didn't happen. No, I raised my kids, both of them. I got 2 boys, and I raised my kids with, you protect your babies. They don't got a voice. They don't got one. You've got to protect them and be their voice. And I'm still that way. And my oldest one is 40, and the one that's sitting in jail, he is turning 36 this month. And I am still right there for both of them.
And you said that he treated both of them
He treated all 3 children the same.
the same, like they were his own.
You couldn't tell which one was and wasn't.
And can I ask you, if I may ask you, Lori? I know we talked about this before, way before the show,
Uh-huh.
and I asked you to come on the show and talk about your story. But I forgot to ask you: was your son, was he always home alone, or was he always working?
No, she's the worker, and he's the one. Well, see, they were getting ready to move. They were when he was arrested on the 18th, 17th or 18th, and they were supposed to move on the 19th or 20th. So he was busy packing.
Gotcha.
And on the 13th, when she said April 13th, when she said it happened, there were 4 adults in this house. There is no way it could have happened at any time of day.
Who's making? Who did the girl report to make the allegation?
The emergency room here in town.
What did you say?
Uh-huh.
What did you say the child went to the emergency room for?
I did not take her. Her mother did, but she said that she needed to make sure that she had not been sexually assaulted.
So it was the mother. I don't understand why they think the mother's a risk.
I don't
They-
either.
Her mother knew about it all along, and
Yeah,
she failed
pretty
to
much.
protect the child, because the child, CPS is saying that they didn't hear the child say this, but CPS is saying the child told her that it happened numerous times, and that
Yeah.
her mother didn't do anything about it, and
Yeah.
that wasn't the case. But
No.
that's what CPS is claiming. But they did not hear it from the child. But the forensic says otherwise. The forensic actually put the stepdad in the clear.
Actually, yes.
That this girl needs to go to therapy, and
Yes.
wasn't touched.
Yes. Oh, and they're wanting to put my 4-year-old grandson on hyperactivity medications.
Because he's
And I'm like, we're like, no. And he would be on it, except for the pediatrician they've got him seeing says he won't put him on it till he's 6.
Right, because of pharmaceutical gain.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why, Davis. That's why, because of her, what the social worker is saying, the child said. But
Hmm.
child, we don't know if the child said that or not. So
No.
can she take the forensic? Is there something they can do with the forensic um, examination that clears the father and the mother, and recommending that the child should seek therapy because she's doing it just to harm someone, for
Hmm.
disciplining
She's doing
her.
it for fun and games.
Well, if there is a forensic examination that says what you say it says, Miss G, obviously the attorney for the mother, the attorney for the father in the criminal matter should be getting a hold of this report and this witness
Yes,
and bringing them to court to exonerate everyone.
exactly.
And I'm not sure why that's not happening. I'm assuming, Miss G, that you are accurate in what the
Hmm.
forensic says. I haven't seen the
Yes,
report and I haven't
yes.
talked to anyone, but that's I mean, if that
Um,
exists, I don't know why the guy's still sitting in jail.
Now, they one of the packets of papers, one of the first couple of packets of papers is like a discovery pack, and and it says in there was no DNA evidence. They couldn't find nothing, and also they had done a interview with her. I'm not sure who did the interview, whether it was police or CPS or Godzilla, for all we know, because
Okay, but Miss G said it's a forensic interview.
That's what you
it
said.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
But I mean, she went all out. It's like now it's up to like 3/4 of a typewritten page of what she said.
So basically, the child spoke to so many different people. So it was a forensic person, then another person, then another person. They don't know who the child really spoke with, other than the only
Right.
thing she has is the forensic evaluation stating that the child should seek.
Exactly.
Well, did the girl tell anyone that the father had committed some type of sexual abuse allegation?
No, only the grandfather and the grandmother
Yeah,
after
that's it.
he, he disciplined her away
Yes.
from her brother,
Hmm.
like the same day.
At the same time, basically, he did one and sent the little boy to the chair, and then he spanked her butt, and put her up on her bed to think about it. Well, this is what she thought about.
Can that
So
Um,
child be put up? Can I guess, can that child be questioned on the stand, Vincent? Her age is 11. I mean,
Absolutely,
okay.
especially in the criminal case.
Did you hear
There's
that, Lori?
they're not wanting to put her on the stand. It'll traumatize her.
well, that's in the CPS case. They can take that into consideration. At least they can in California. I don't know about Texas, but I would guess that in the criminal case, his criminal defense lawyer can make her get on the stand
Cool.
because the focus of the case is his rights, you
Mhm.
know, to be declared innocent
Mhm.
versus her rights in the CPS case not to be
Right.
traumatized.
Right.
But at least in California, there are different standards. I would guess. I don't know if it's the same way in Texas, but you'd have to check with the Texas lawyer.
Right.
Does he have a criminal lawyer or a court-appointed
Yes,
lawyer?
he
Right.
has a court-appointed criminal and dependency lawyer. His same guy.
Oh,
He
it's the
does
same
both.
guy. That's interesting.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you told this court-appointed lawyer about this forensic examination? That
Yes.
you have?
Mhm.
What does he say?
Well, at the time I told him he couldn't talk to me because of the attorney client privileges, but I will bring it up to him again because now my son's told him, look, my mom's representing me for you. Because he can call me and get me to call him because this man's busy.
Yeah, but here's what I would like to know. How do you know what the forensic examination says?
Because it is in one of the packets of paperwork that they gave Hannah.
You mean
The
gave the mother?
CPS.
Don't
Yes.
say the names, honey. Don't say the names.
Oh, sorry. But yeah,
Okay.
they gave her 2 packets of paper. One was some kind of court order, and the other one was some kind of other thing that had everything in it that she had said, and the kit where they go in and they do all the testing and stuff like that. But that was all in a big packet of paperwork about that thick.
Now, I hope the attorney for the father, if he's the dependency attorney, the CPS attorney, he would have that same report.
He did, yes.
Okay, so then he knows what the forensic exam allegedly says, right?
Right, and he's already said this is going to trial. We ain't even playing. This is going to trial.
Well, it would seem like that if that evidence exists, that the district attorney or the prosecutor in Texas wouldn't want that case to go to trial.
Get this. CPS attorney is an ADA.
But is the CPS attorney the ADA in the criminal case?
No, he has another ADA for that one.
Right. Yeah, I would guess an experienced ADA, a prosecutor in Texas, if that evidence exists, wouldn't want to take that to trial. That's,
I know.
for his case or her case, that would be devastating evidence. It wouldn't seem that they would be able to prove guilt by what is it, beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right. And I'm thinking that both are going to wind up being jury trial.
Yeah, there's a question by one of the viewers says, what's an ADA? An ADA is the prosecutor, the assistant district attorney.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And he's been an ADA for years and years and years.
It is beneficial for your son that he has the same attorney during the criminal case and doing the CPS case.
I thought it was awesome.
Most likely, or most often, they're different attorneys. And, in the past, when I've done both cases, it's extremely beneficial because you're allowed to look at evidence in the CPS case that you never would have been allowed to see or look at in the criminal case or even know about.
Right.
Or even know about. So it's very beneficial.
It's we call them discovery packs down here.
Very good, very good. And you said his bail was $250,000?
No.
Yes, sir. Yes.
250,000? Or you said I have
$250,000.
it's in the millions. $250,000.
That would be $250,000.
Yes.
And in Texas, do you have to put up 10% of the bail to get someone bailed out, of the bond to get them out?
I have been quoted anywhere from 30% to half of it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's his charge.
Yeah. Have they had a what's called? Do they do bail reduction hearings in?
Yes.
In Texas.
Yes, but they're not wanting to go down on his bond.
They're not wanting to what?
Go down on his bond.
Even with that new forensic report?
Even with it, yeah.
That's interesting.
Can the county go after? I mean, can the county hit him hard in the criminal court? Like, can they go after him in the criminal court?
Oh yeah.
I'm asking Davis, Lori.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
didn't understand that question. What do you mean, can they go hard?
Can they go after him? Meaning, like, say they found a way to bail him out. Can they go after the courts, the criminal side, and say no, he should not be bailed out. He should be in jail for the rest of his life? Do they have a say so at all in criminal court? I was asked that question today.
I'm sorry, I don't understand because the criminal court is the one that
don't
sets the
think
bail.
so.
Well, I was asked only because
Right.
in LA County, somebody said that a social worker to this PNC, that a social worker can easily go after the criminal side and they can testify under oath on behalf of the child that's claiming sexual assault. So I said to her that I will ask on the show today if that is true. I'm not sure. That's never asked to me before. So is it true? Can they go after the parent in the criminal court proceeding as well?
I know the question you're trying to ask, but it didn't come out the right way.
It didn't, because I really didn't understand her. I'm just going by how she addressed it.
So let me tell you this. The social worker can't go after anybody in criminal court.
Okay.
Okay. Only the DA can do that. Okay. The district attorney. So the social worker can't go after anyone. However, the social worker can be a witness in the criminal court.
Okay.
You know, I tell people don't talk to social workers. This is one of the reasons why. Social worker can go into criminal court and testify against the father. And in some cases, could testify to hearsay of the minor child.
Yeah.
You know, here's the dilemma that you hate to see as a defense attorney. The kid gets on the stand and says it never happened. Social worker gets on the stand and says, well, 6 hours after the alleged incident, the child told me it did happen. She must have changed her mind because now she doesn't want to get daddy in trouble. That's hearsay and it's speculation. But have I seen people try to do that? Yes, I have. And even if I object and say speculation foundation, she already uttered those words and the jury has already heard them. So how do you unring that bell? You know, that's a very difficult thing to do. So the social worker can't go after and do anything to the guy in criminal court. But she could be a damaging witness in criminal court. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people all the time, don't talk to social workers without your lawyer. I'm not telling you don't talk to the social worker. I'm not saying that. I said don't talk to your social worker without your lawyer.
Right.
Period.
Right.
You know, and you know, I can be present or the lawyer can be present either on the phone or in person. So, Lori, do you have any other questions for me this evening?
No, and after the holiday, I will get with this Matthew Harris over in Lubbock, see if I can see if he had somebody in school that's down here around me to talk to.
Very good. Okay.
And I do appreciate your help.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and I wish you and your family the best. Keep us posted about what happens. Maybe in a couple months you can come back on and give us an update, okay?
Okay.
All
I
right.
can do that.
All right. Good night, Lori. Bye-bye. Okay. Let's see. Let's get this corrected. All right. Miss G, any questions or comments you have before we sign off for this evening?
Actually, you said you mentioned about the social worker can be called as a witness,
Mhm.
and but the judge might not go for it. Like, I don't know.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Will it work in the criminal court side? I mean, don't they need the burden of proof? Like, show me evidence, show me something. Can they get the child to testify? I mean, can they question the child in criminal court or?
Okay, Miss G, please tell me you were listening to me because
I
this is
wasn't. That's why I'm sorry.
I could tell.
Yeah.
This is what I said. Here is the problem.
Hmm.
So you could call the girl as a witness and she could get on the stand and say, it never happened. I was just lying. I was mad at my dad. But then the other side, the prosecutor can call the social worker who talked to the girl 6 hours after the alleged event. And the
Hmm.
social worker could say, well, the girl told me that it did happen and that her dad did this, and this. And she's only changing her testimony now because she doesn't want daddy to get in trouble.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
okay, now it's up to the jury to make the
Right.
decision,
Right.
right?
Now,
Who knows what they're going to decide?
right. Now, if the social worker does say that the girl said to her, blah, 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 what proof does the court have that the girl actually said that? They can't just take the word of the social worker in
Oh,
criminal
yes, they
court.
can. Yes, they can.
But that's hearsay. It doesn't work in criminal court. You told me that.
Okay. I also told you, if you were listening carefully, that there are about 100 exceptions to the hearsay rule.
I'm talking about in criminal court. You told me
Yeah,
that
I'm
parents
talking
have
about.
more rights as in criminal court than they do in juvenile court. You told me, like, literally said, you have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
That's
You said
true.
that. And you
Yeah,
said that several times. So you
it's
said
true.
in criminal court, they don't go by hearsay.
No, I've never said that.
Okay.
I will bet you $1 million that you will
Which I
never
don't
find a.
have. So why
Well,
would you bet me $1
let-
million that I
well,
don't have?
let's bet a dollar. You will
Mm,
never find a video that I said that ever. Now, you may
mm,
have heard that or thought you understood that,
mm,
but that's inaccurate. You do have more rights in criminal court than
mm-hmm,
in CPS court.
mm-hmm.
But when I talk about rights, I'm not talking about hearsay evidence. Okay. There's other types of constitutional rights. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, new subject.
Mm.
Is hearsay evidence admissible in criminal courts? It depends, but yes, it is. You can get a copy of the California Evidence Code and look at the chapter on hearsay. The rule is hearsay is generally inadmissible. However, as a state, we have, many exceptions to the hearsay rule within the evidence code. And there are more exceptions to the hearsay rule given to us by our appellate and our Supreme Court.
Mm.
So there's an old joke that litigators say there really is no hearsay rule because there's so many exceptions. Now
Mm.
that's an overstatement and it's a joke. Let me give
Mm.
you an example of something that's hearsay, but that's still admissible under the exception.
Mm.
There's a business record, let's say it's a medical record that a doctor filled out and it's in the child's file, medical records.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's an out of court statement.
Mm.
That is hearsay.
Mm.
However, if you subpoena in that record the correct way, and I won't go into the correct way right now, but if you subpoena it in to the correct way and have the custodian of record and all that, there to testify or a declaration from the custodian of record, that hearsay piece of evidence becomes admissible.
Okay.
It's still hearsay, but it becomes admissible.
Wow.
Okay. All right. And there's a lot of tricks with that particular rule. You got to make sure that, I don't know if you're the proponent of the hearsay or the opponent of the hearsay, but you
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's, because you could be, if you're the proponent of the hearsay evidence and you want it to come in and you don't do it the right way, guess what? It's not coming in. I've told this story before, and it's been a few years, but I did a case against an attorney in, I think it was in San Bernardino. But anyway, we were doing a trial, and I went first, okay? And I started asking my client all these hearsay questions, and she was answering them. And you know what? The guy on the other side, who I knew, I mean, we weren't friends, but I knew him, he didn't object one time, not one time. And then I finished my case in chief. He did his case in chief. He put his client on the stand, asked the same hearsay questions.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Objection, Your Honor, hearsay." And he looked at me like, "How dare you?" And he said, "Judge, Mr. Davis asked those same questions of his client, and that came into evidence." And the judge says, "Mr. So and so, you're absolutely right. He did. You didn't object. He's objecting. He's objecting, and it is hearsay, and you can't bring that evidence
Oh,
into
Awesome. Okay, got it. Got it.
now. Now, guess who won the trial? Me, because I had more evidence than he did. You see how that works?
Yes.
Okay, so don't get confused. The law is, this was one of the hardest things for me to understand too. You think that everything fits together and it's all the same.
Right.
No, it's all different. So you have more rights in a criminal case than you do in CPS, period. Okay. And one day we can go through all those different rights you have in criminal court that you don't have in CPS court. Here's one right: you have a right to be judged by a jury of your peers in criminal court. You don't have that right in most states in CPS cases, at least in California, you don't,
Mm.
right? That's a right. Right? You have a right to hold the other side to hearsay evidence unless there's an exception.
And the exception might be, example, maybe.
Business record exception, state of mind exception, okay? Prior inconsistent statement exception, prior testimony exception. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There's many exceptions. That's why a lot of people joke and say, well, there really isn't any rule to keep out hearsay because there must be an exception for it somehow. And, guys and gals that are really good at the evidence code can get into evidence what you can't get in and keep out evidence which you couldn't keep out. That's why, a lot of people talk about, oh, what's the law in CPS cases? The law is, in my mind, not important. It's not important. Do you know your evidence? It's what you can keep in and keep out for your side that determines whether something is going to be, whether you're going to win the case.
And that's why it's important. You always mention that for them to tell you the truth. If they hire you, they need to be honest with you, not keep
Yes,
anything
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this over 30 years, but I would hope that is going to be the case.
Not
But
really.
many
Not all the time.
times it's not the case,
Mm-mm.
and I don't find it until after, or I don't find out at all.
Yep. And
Everybody that's out there that has a CPS case or any type of case,
Mhm.
everyone has their own agenda.
Oh, I
Okay,
know. Mhm.
everyone has their own. They're calling me because they just want me to win,
Mhm.
and that's something that I can do. Hopefully for most people, but the courtroom is not, you're not going to find justice in the courtroom.
No.
It's a false sense of reality. It's justice in terms of what we say justice is, not what you know justice is in your heart.
Right.
They're completely different things.
Right.
You know, I hate to say this, but it's almost like, you know, you go to court, you're in a battle, you know, a war. Who's going to win? No holds barred, you know. Or it's, you know, like a football game. There's rules and there's, you know, technicalities you have to abide by. There's a time clock, you know, all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean the best football team is going to win. And I'm sure that you guys have seen that many times in, you know, professional sports. The best team doesn't always win, right? Sometimes there's a bad call by the referee, you know, gives the advantage to the other side, you know. So you got to know the evidence, and you got to keep those things clear in your mind.
Okay.
Clear in your mind. Hearsay is, but here's something that's unfair in California, in my opinion. Social workers get to use hearsay to prove the
Yes,
case.
I know.
Right.
But you told me they could
Hold
do
on,
that.
hold on.
Oh.
Parents, they can't use hearsay. So social workers can use hearsay. Parents can't use hearsay. And the case that allowed that to happen, first allowed that to happen, was a California Supreme Court case. You know what the court said? They said, because social workers are fair and unbiased, we're going to let them use hearsay.
So how do they know they're fair and unbiased, though? I mean,
I don't know how they knew that, because when I read the opinion, I'm thinking to myself, well, they don't know the social workers I know. You know, and at that time I was just, you know, doing cases in LA County, and I thought, well, it must be different in other counties. You know, that's what I was thinking. Little
but
did I know.
hearsay should not. I mean, I don't know.
Don't
I
say that.
think that's
Don't
being
say it.
biased. I think they're
Don't.
being biased because the state, I believe
Don't. You
that's
know, here's one of the reasons why. Um, a mentor of mine said that was the rule. It's the rule because if a social worker had to prove a case the old-fashioned way, it would be too much time and too expensive. And we want to economic analysis of the law, Mr. Guai. We want to save money or make money for the government.
so they're making money. They're not saving money.
Oh no, they're saving money by
They're
not
sa-
having a social worker go through all the hoops. They're making it easier for the social worker. Social worker doesn't have to put in as much time and effort. Social worker's attorney doesn't have to put in much time and effort, and then therefore they can still win and protect children. You know,
so
in a lot of cases in CPS courts, this is what I see. We're there for trial. There's 4 reports, 3 reports, whatever. Prosecutor says, I'd like to mark the 3 reports, exhibit 1, 2, and 3.
mhm.
And I'd like to move them into evidence. And then they go into evidence. And then the judge says to them, do you have any more witnesses or evidence? No, Your Honor, I rest. How easier can it be to win a case? I'm just going to throw in the reports from the social worker. No more, you know, I don't want to bring forth any other witnesses because it's all there in the report, even if it's hearsay or multiple hearsay or
Nothing
what they
challenged, no
call
nothing.
totem pole hearsay. You know, he said because she said, but the guy around the corner said, you know, what?
Right.
You know, you talk about hearsay. So that's all the prosecutor has to do to win the case. I got my witnesses there. And somehow, you know, a lot of times my witnesses get beat by the social worker's report because we assume the social workers are fair and unbiased.
No, we don't assume that. The court assumes that.
Right.
We, the people, don't say that. Yeah, because they don't
Well,
have
you, the
one.
people, guess what? You don't count.
Well, we, the people, are the ones paying their salary.
Oh.
We should count.
You know, that's such a lame, weak argument. I hear that all the
To
time.
you.
Oh, we're paying your salary. Who gives a crap? It don't mean nothing. Even if it's true, don't mean nothing.
I'm beginning to wonder about you, Vincent. That's another discussion, though.
I'm
We the people
communist.
should have a voice.
I'm a
We the
communist.
people should have a voice. You're a communist? Okay, I'm beginning to believe that.
We the people
You
should
just
have
get
a
you
voice.
just started being we the people. You were a Democrat for 50 years, for
we
God's
the,
sakes.
we the people should have a voice. You know,
I'm sorry, what? What does that
You
have to
heard
do
me.
with anything?
that's talk.
That's
That's cheap
Yes,
talk
yes,
that
that's
means
hearsay.
nothing. That means nothing.
wait, what
When
means
you
nothing?
decide
I'm lost here. He said something about
when
Democrat and
when
I
you
don't
do
understand.
something to take action to change the rules, let me know.
Yeah.
You know, there. What did that guy? And did you ever see that movie with Tom Cruise when he was a Navy lawyer? And
I love that guy.
he's got what's his name? The
Can't
famous.
handle the truth.
You're right. You can't have. Who was that actor that said that?
Oh my God, that was
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Yes.
And if you watch the movie, during that period of time when he's being questioned, he says, freedom or something like that. That's the only thing you do is talk about it at cocktail parties.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're
freedom that
ready
you
to
enjoy.
pick up a rifle and stand guard, let me know. Because in other words, you haven't done shit until you pick up that rifle.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to talk about freedom at cocktail parties. That's what I'm telling you. Until you do something to change things, it's all cocktail talk.
Well, we're
It's
working on
cocktail
it,
talk.
Vincent. Isn't that what we said we're going to do? We're going to work
Listen.
on it.
That's it. Jack Nicholson, A Few Good Men.
Mm-hmm.
Get that movie.
Just
Turn to the end when what's Tom Cruise is cross-examining Jack Nicholson.
I just love how attorneys get out of things like hair in a dough, like a piece of dough. You try to get the hair out, they come out so just smoothly. I just love that. You're a good attorney, Vincent. You're great. You really are. And I mean that.
Okay.
I really mean that.
Bow your head when you say that, okay?
I bow to the master. What did I say when you went to court for me? I said the master, the legend, the one and only. Remember when I sent the whole staff?
Mr. G, one of the most difficult clients I've ever had.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Okay. Before we sign off, Mr.
Oh,
G,
are you sure, dear?
No, I'm not sure of anything there, Miss G. You know what's funny? Check this out. Today's my birthday. Today's my birthday. And look at this package I got in the mail with the destructive label on it. You know what's inside of this?
Happy birthday, Darren.
Look at this. Look at this. Wait, I want you to see this. This came from LA. Look at all of this metaphor stuff that I got. Dial soap came in this. You see this? All from a damaged package from LA that I got today, just this afternoon.
That's very weird, isn't
there
it?
we go.
Darren, happy birthday, by the way.
Hey, thank you very much.
How many trips around the sun is that?
45 of them.
Wow.
So,
I
they'll
thought you
continue
were
to move.
18 last time I spoke to you.
How many what?
Mr. G, do you have any questions or comments before we sign off for the night?
No. I'm good, Mr. Davis. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, now tomorrow is July 4th. Do we want to do a repeat or rerun, or do we want to do a live show?
Oh, let's go live.
Okay, well, we'll try to go live. Miss Grace, I hope you heard that. Everyone, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And everyone have a good evening and have a happy 4th and a safe 4th, by the way. All right. Good night, all.
Good night.